that, not necessarily for what happened to Diana, but because he was an asset of British and French intelligence, which is the same organization. And to really appreciate how this could be done, you need to appreciate something called trauma-based mind control. During the last war in the concentration camps of Germany, in fact, way, way back this has been known about, but particularly during the last war, they started to perfect the manipulation of a natural mechanism in the mind that shuts out trauma. What they did was to understand that if you could systematically traumatize someone, their mind would shut out the memory of it and create an amnesic barrier, which would be disconnected from the rest of the mind. This is what happens when people have a major road accident and they can't remember what happened. It's because the amnesic barrier has been created to shut out trauma, so we don't keep reliving the horror. Good thing. But they realized that if you could do that systematically and start with children, particularly before the age of 5 and 6, you could turn their minds into a honeycomb of self-contained compartments, none of which was aware of the other's existence. This guy was what they call a multiple, Henri Paul, which in their mind is broken up into different compartments, and so through trigger words and what have you, and trigger sentences, hypnotic keys, one amnesic barrier becomes the conscious level. That experiences something or is programmed to do something, and then he's pushed back and another one's pulled forward. It's actually got to the point where, amazing as it may seem, you can be drunk in one compartment and completely sober in the other, which is interesting in relation to what happened if you look at the story of Henri Paul. Once the programming is in there, and in the biggest secret, I put incredible documentation and background to this and what happened, and trauma-based mind control and how it creates assassins and people going crazy with guns to justify taking guns out of circulation, all this stuff. When you look at the background, all that is necessary is to program the guy, push that programming back into the mind, and that will stay there at the subconscious level until some trigger comes in. When that trigger word or trigger action or whatever is said or done, that programming is activated. So you can be in normal mode and be very normal and no problem, and never noticed anything different about old Henry that night. Trigger word, bang, programming, you're like a robot. And what gives away this is the fact that the car hit the 13th pillar. If you read The Biggest Secret, you'll see the incredible obsession with symbolism that this brotherhood has. I've been to Paris, and in that tunnel, the Pont d'Alma tunnel, there's 30 odd of these pillars. It hit the 13th. The 13 is the number that reoccurs again and again and again and again, constantly over thousands and thousands of years in all these different brotherhood groups and all these different secret societies. And it relates in part to the 1 and 12, that symbol again of the sun and the 12 months, the 12 areas of the zodiac. So, all it would have needed, because the guy was missing for 3 hours that night, was the trigger word or the trigger to activate the programming, and Henri Paul suddenly goes into whatever he was programmed to do. Now, where they were going that night, and this is agreed by everyone, is from the Ritz Hotel, which is numbered 1 on this map, down to the Champs-Élysées and to almost the Arc de Triomphe, where Dodi Fayed had his flat. When they went earlier in the day, the car went down to the Place de la Concorde, went up the Champs-Élysées to his flat, which is right next to that circle you see there. This is the quickest way from the Ritz to the apartment of Dodi Fayed. But not that occasion did he go that way. Henri Paul went around to the Place de la Concorde, and suddenly, instead of going down the quickest way, went on to this dual carriageway that goes alongside the River Seine. He went at an increasingly fast speed and then went down into the Pont d'Alma tunnel. Now, why would he go that way? Some people say, well, he was going round to miss the traffic or whatever. But the key thing is, by going the long way to the apartment, it took him through the Pont d'Alma tunnel. It took him through this ancient sacrificial site to the goddess Diana. And what does Pont d'Alma mean? Pont d'Alma means passage or bridge of the moon goddess. And Diana, in Brotherhood symbolism, is a symbol of the moon, a moon goddess. Another interesting thing is that bodyguards, when they're in the front seat of a car, they never wear a seatbelt because they're looking after their clients and they need to react quickly. What happened with Trevor Rees-Jones, the bodyguard, is that he never had a seatbelt on when the car left the Ritz, which is normal practice. When he got to the Place de la Concorde, one of the photographers chasing the car got a shot of the bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, still no seatbelt. Literally a minute later, probably less, when the car crashed in the tunnel, Trevor Rees-Jones had a seatbelt on, the only person in the car who did, because the people in the back dirty fired and Diana did not. So either Trevor Rees-Jones knew what was coming but didn't tell his clients, or he realized at some point there was a danger going on here and didn't tell his clients. This is the Place de la Concorde, and there is the obelisk, the 3,200-year-old Luxor obelisk, which was about a minute's drive that night from the crash, and Diana went round there on the way to the scene. This is Trevor Rees-Jones. When asked why he put his seatbelt on, he says he doesn't remember, and maybe we'll never know, but it's got to be one or the other. When the car came down to the tunnel here at the Pont d'Alma, it's a series of crossroads, and that's very, very significant, because these deities who are symbolic of the moon and various energies, they're broken up into different polarities. You've got Diana, which is the positive moon energy, and then you've got the negative force, which is called Hecate, which is the goddess of the crossroads, and she's symbolized by crossroads and all over the world. The Hecate satanic symbolism can be seen in the ceremonies and what have you. And so here we have a situation now where Diana, goddess of the moon, is taken into an ancient sacrificial site to the goddess Diana, dies in a tunnel which is called Bridge or Passage of the Moon Goddess, and is also covered with crossroads to the goddess Hecate, which is the malevolent symbol of the moon energy. This is the Pont d'Alma tunnel. It's very short, and I've been through it, and they keep telling me in the media it's very dangerous. I didn't really see that myself. And it's very close to the Arc de Triomphe, which is another obelisk symbol. This is the 13th pillar, and there's no way that car hit the 13th pillar, given the obsession with symbolism of this brotherhood, unless it was meant to happen. I've talked to people who are experts in this mind control, who work to deprogram people who have been mind controlled in this way. And I said to them, is it possible to mind control a driver on a subconscious level to go into that tunnel and just whack the 13th pillar? Because, of course, in the conscious level, you'd say, come on, it's not possible. And everyone has said, absolutely, for this reason. The conscious level has a certain feeling of time. So going into the tunnel at 60, 70, 80 miles an hour and then hitting the 13th pillar, you must be joking. But the subconscious level has a completely different perception of time. 60, 70 miles an hour to that is walking pace. Therefore, the programming goes in at the subconscious level, making that hit the 13th pillar at speed. Piece of cake, according to these experts I've spoken to. Diana actually survived the crash. All reports say that. But instead of being taken to hospital, where she could have got treatment that could have saved her life, she was held in that tunnel for a very, very long time. Medical experts outside of France have said it's ridiculous how long it took. About 95 minutes from the crash to get her to hospital, by which time she was clinically dead. Between the Ritz and the tunnel are 17 of these things, traffic cameras, which are filming the road which the car passed down. Had they been on that night, we wouldn't be standing here saying, well, I wonder what happened.